So the twins are now having a little lunch nap and we will continue. Or should we have a lunch nap?
Yeah, yes, I think we should. I think we need some gin and tonics is what we need. On a Monday.
Of course. Okay, so I have another question from one of my followers, because I have quite a lot of tall followers that are over 6 foot, and
interesting.
you're not, I'm not, but have you let anybody who is over 6 foot drive this car, and how did they get on?
I have a very funny story for you, and I probably shouldn't be telling the story on camera, but I will. So the first time I went to, well, in the very beginning, just when I'd bought her, so she lives up by Morton in Marsh with my friend Ben. And I went to pick her up and bring her to drive for a weekend on a Friday. And I get an email whilst I'm there saying, are you around? I'm in Oxford. Would you like to come for a small meeting from a potential investor? So, and I'd met this potential investor in the past. This is a few years ago. And so I thought to myself, oh, I have time. I'll go get the car, park it, and then I'll go to my investor meeting. And of course I ran into traffic and I didn't make it in time, so I had to drive the car into Oxford. Now, to give a background to this, the car had just arrived in the UK, it hadn't been registered yet, so it was on Texas plates. And my friend Ben said to me, now I know you, he said, only 2 rules: don't take it on the motorway and don't take it into Oxford. And I said, of course not, of course I won't, it's not registered, it's on Texas plates, it's fine. First thing I do, take it into Oxford. So I take it, park it, have my meeting, and during this meeting, a potential investor and his friend are so animated and so encouraged by my business that they say, why don't we go have dinner at Le Manoir? And I say, oh, I can't turn down dinner at Le Manoir, this is fantastic, who would? So, and they say, well, we should get, they're about to stop serving, the kitchen's going to close, so we need to go now, and let's just go in your car. I say, no, we can't go in my car. Oh, yes, we can. And so the 2 of them managed to get into the passenger seat, 2 6-foot-plus guys got into the passenger seat, and we drove it on the M40 to Le Manoir to dinner. So I did number 2 thing that Ben said not to do, which was drive on the motorway with Texas plates. I'm probably going to get arrested for this, but I mean, ex post facto, there's not much they can do. So yes, the answer is you can fit people who are over 6 feet in it, but I will tell you that my friends who have owned Dinos in the past and are at that height find it very challenging.
Very challenging to drive.
It's a very small car.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of space, and you do feel crammed. So it's definitely a smaller person's car for sure.
So it suits you and it would suit me.
Yes, it would suit you and me, but not those that are over 6 foot tall.
And it did suit the twins, but not for driving just yet.
This is true.
Now, you mentioned investor, and I have previously mentioned in this film that you're a very busy businesswoman, and we've confiscated your phone so that you can actually have a break from business. Tell us, what do you do and where did it all start?
Absolutely. So we've basically developed platform technology for the non-destructive analysis of liquids in container. So what do I mean by that? Is essentially we have a device that can shine a laser through a container wall, be that glass or plastic, and analyze the contents of that container without ever having to break the seal or open it. So our first business case was within wine and spirits.
Vintage wines, I can imagine, yes.
So bottle of wine, it's sealed. Bottle of old whiskey, it's sealed. If you want to test the contents at the moment, you have to open the seal, take a sample out, put it into gas form, send it to the lab, and it's a very expensive and time-consuming process. To be able to analyze a bottle of wine, so wine is actually a very complex substance. It's 85% water, it's 12 to 14% ethanol, and then it's 1% made up of more than 1,000 different organic molecules which all kind of resemble each other. Wow. And this is what sets your supermarket wine apart from a Chateau Lafite. Wow. So we're looking for a very, very small signal of the total. And the technique itself, because you have to go through the glass and come back out through the glass, it means that you have a very, very, very faint signal that you're working with. So it's basically, so we've got the patented hardware, we've got the actual signal gets analyzed by very sophisticated statistical analysis methods and machine learning. And basically the machine learning part is you start populating a database in n-dimensional space, which tells you this is where Barbera lives, or like 2006 Barbera, oxidized 2006 Barbera, this producer. And so it starts learning what different things are. And the 3 sort of overarching applications, zooming back out to anything like injectables or blood transfusion bags, is basically batch testing. So anytime that you have a large number of products and you can't open every single one, when the contents is expensive. So for example, a bottle of wine at auction going for thousands of pounds, or when you're looking for adulteration, so toxicities, like toxic substances inside. And within wine, that boils down to quality control, anti-counterfeiting, and methanol contamination.
Wow. And could there be a motorsport application for fuels and oils?
So the name of the company, Verivan, stemmed from verification and van for wine. Everybody ended up pronouncing it Veravin. And then I joked for a while that we should have Veravin, VIN, as in VIN number, because I thought, we could. And actually, it's a very interesting thing with old cars, because you can actually date the metal, but not directly. It's an indirect test, so you do something called XR fluorescence, X-ray fluorescence on it, and what you get is an idea of the composition of the metal, and that can help you track to whether this car would have been, whether that composition would have been available in that time in this place. But there is no way to directly test the age of that. So it's you can test paint, you can test fabrics, and as you say, so oils, yes, any oils are fair game to us. It's just the business case comes into its own and is strongest when you have, when you can't test invasively. So when you don't want to open the container.
This is incredible stuff, and you are clearly a very, very clever person. You have a master's from Oxford, don't you?
A PhD.
PhD from Oxford. Wow. She's a doctor.
Yeah. I'm a doctor, but not the useful kind. Not useful at all. Something hurts, I can't help you.
Well, if you really like wine, she's very useful. And you're also a ballerina, aren't you?
I am. So my first love in life was ballet. I started when I was 2 years 9 months old, and I was on track to be a professional. And then eventually, my parents decided for me that I was going to boarding school instead, and I was going to follow a career in academia. And then, so I studied physics and finance in undergrad. Nearly took a job in New York at the time, so I was at Princeton, and everybody seemed to just sort of go to New York. And at some point I just thought, I really like physics. There's all these cool classes I'm taking, I want to know more. And I just thought, I just want to go to Europe as well, I want to get out of the US. And eventually, found a really cool research group at Oxford that was doing quantum computing, which is really cool field. It's for those of you in the know, it's like the sexiest bit of physics at the moment. And so I applied and ended up in an experimental physics group doing, building an experiment from scratch. And I think that's what's given me really my, it's made me more mechanically minded. It probably has a lot to do with why I started the type of company that I did, which is, we manufacture and assemble hardware, and why I'm attracted to these things,
Of course. It all makes sense. Yeah. Great. Well, I'm completely blown away by that now. And as you probably know, a love of mine is Le Mans and having raced there myself. And there's a little bit of history with one of your cars, isn't there? Tell us a bit more about Hector that we mentioned earlier.
There is. So Hector has, it is a lovely little pre-war MG, and it has one sort of, the PA. There was a team called Aesham's Dancing Daughters. They put together an all-female team for Le Mans, and this would have been 1930. The car is 1934. I think it would have been 1935. So entered by all-female team, and that's it's when people say there's no women in motorsport. I'm like, come on,
it's been going on for years.
It has.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
And first long-distance car journey was actually made by Ferdinand Porsche's wife. So there you go.
In what year?
God, 1890 something.
Yeah, because there was a race in France, a road race in 1903 or something, or 1902, and then of course we had Dorothy Levitt. Yeah. So there have been female drivers, female racing drivers, and pioneers of women just getting behind the wheel and feeling comfortable with their cars for over 100 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
there you go. Love it. Before you bought this car, was it a hero car of yours, and did you have a poster of it on the wall when you were a little girl?
So I hate to disappoint you, but no. Actually, it's a testament to one thing, that the Dinos their value has gone up so much in the last 10 years. I mean, so this car, when I was growing up a very long time ago, it was not really a very desirable Ferrari. I mean, this is the case with many. If you had 275 GTBs, Dinos, 330 GTCs, cars that people didn't really think they were very special Ferraris. But rising tide lifts all boats, and all these superstar cars that have come for sale for astronomical amounts in the last 15 years have lifted the market for these. The car that was on a poster for me, I had gone with my parents to Pebble Beach. I started going to Pebble Beach when I was 3. first ever. I've got photographic evidence of this. And at some point, Ralph Lauren had his Bugatti Atlantique, which is a beautiful car. They made 3, and they were made out of this magnesium alloy where they had to rivet it down. So it's got like a beautiful rivet down the middle. It's like the Atalante with a wide windscreen and teardrop, and it's got this rivet. And I had a picture of that car on my desk when I was at boarding school and university, and it said, "This is why you work hard, Cici." I thought, okay, set your sights very high,
This car being a 1974 car, do you ever dress up from that period or from that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so not only do I dress up to the period, but also I dress the color of the car. So every time I'm around Viola, I've got a lot of purple dresses now because I want to be the same color as the car. But yeah, so ever since I was little, my mother has dressed us up for car concours to our cars. So I've got the outfits to go to all of them, and we go all out. We get, the period hats and the gloves and the whole 9 yards. And I think it's, Hampton Court last weekend.
Yes,
I did
yeah.
exactly that. So I had a 30s outfit for Hector, the MGPA. That's part of the fun, You've got to do it. Yeah, absolutely.
And do you have a purple dresses section in your closet?
I now do. Sadly, it's only about 4 or 5, but yeah, I do the Viola dresses.
Love it. You just need a picture of her in the background, so when you take a dress out, you see a little peek of her.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. So thank you so much, Cici, for taking the time.
Absolutely.
It's
Thank
been
you for
absolutely
having
brilliant.
me. Yeah.
Absolute pleasure. And I hope that you all enjoyed this, enjoyed meeting Cici and having some of your questions answered and seeing this beautiful car a little bit closer than from a distance.
Yeah. Anytime.
Thank you.